Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. My very good friend, Tony Powers. We like to do each other's shows, don't we, Tony?
Oh, yes.
We have a good time.
Glad to be on with you.
I always enjoy having you on. You bring great insight. In fact, I'll be on. I was on your show on Thursday, and we're delighted to get you on today here on Friday for The Price of Business. Help people prepare for their weekend. Tell me, first of all, talk about your station. Talk about the show that you've been doing now, and how long have you been doing that program?
Well, about 4 years now, and we've launched the iTalk US network, and we're now all over the world, and you can listen to us at italkus.com.
There you go. Make sure you check that out. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening on the news front, and there is a lot of things happening on the news front. A lot of security-related issues, personal security-related issues that becomes great fodder for those who would take away our individual liberties, in my humble opinion. And, you have, for example, of course, the Boston Marathon and how somehow gun control laws would curtail morons who would create bombs out of pressure cookers. I don't know how that would work. But it's funny how somehow that issue, if you listen to news stories, is now wrapped up in the context of that gun law issues. Have you noticed that, or am I the only one who's noticing that? Am I just paranoid, or is that actually taking place?
Oh, it is. I mean, if you read Salon Magazine yesterday, they were actually praying for a white American to be the one that caused the bombings in Boston. And they're trying their best to tie people who would like to legally protect themselves to anything that happens. And, of course, are they going to start doing background checks for pressure cookers now?
Unbelievable, yeah. And of course, they say that kind of moronic type of things, and everyone, I noticed the Daily Caller quoted them, even RedState.com did. Of course, RedState.com was critical of that, as well they should be. But it's incredible, the irresponsible things that come out of people's mouths or out of people's keyboards, their computers. And so it's interesting how all this gets wrapped up in this whole context, this whole issue of we need more gun control. Here in the state of Texas last Tuesday here in the Houston area, a college that my kids have gone to and my wife went to, Lone Star College, had this incredibly terrible incident in which a deranged young man ran around the campus with a knife, randomly stabbing people, just running around stabbing people, and stabbed, I think, 14 people, 2 of them critically injured, and I'm not sure what their current status is, but it was terrible what ended up happening. And what's interesting about that is, again, we saw it in the context of the gun control debate here locally, which I thought was ridiculous because that school was a gun-free zone. Guess what would have happened if that wasn't a gun-free zone? That guy wouldn't have got more, he wouldn't have been able to stab more than 1 or 2 people before he got shot.
Well, I think that the NRA is absolutely right on this issue. What we need to have is we need to stop these gun-free zones, because what they are just killing fields for criminals who want to cause harm to our children, and who know that if they won't meet resistance in these gun-free zones, and they can go in with impunity and do their damage and not have to worry about being confronted by somebody with a gun.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. Really, really unbelievable. So, we keep looking at these kind of things. And, of course, and I don't know, I'm sure you saw the news because I noticed Fox was covering it, that we had an explosion not too far from here in Houston in a town called West Texas, right outside of Waco, a couple hours away. By Texas standards, that's relatively close. As of now, they're concluding that it appears to be an accident. But, people are just really at very very concerned levels when it comes to the potential of terror anyway, or anywhere. It's kind of alarming stuff. And we live in a time where government seems to be offering more security if you just defer to government. And you and I both know that never ends up being the case.
No, it doesn't. And that is a real tragedy out in Texas and West, and I've been watching that, and of course our prayers go out to all those folks there, and all those first responders that were hurt as they came to that scene. It was a horrible scene. I've been watching it all morning, and I just pray for those folks. does look like it was probably an accident, but of course we won't know until they do an investigation.
Yep, talking again to Tony Powers, radio personality, also the leader of a great new network that I'm looking forward to learning more about and hopefully being more involved as time goes by, taking a message of liberty to people all over the country and really all over the world. Talk a little bit about what stories you've been covering over there on your program.
Well, of course, we've been covering the gun control bill that failed yesterday in the Senate, and we can be thankful that our senators stood tall yesterday, and of course some didn't. 4 Republicans voted for the bill, but 5 Democrats voted against it, and it failed. Obama was out, of course, immediately, standing on the graves of the 4 children from Newtown, Connecticut, and using their families as props and trying to blackmail America into giving up our Second Amendment rights. But he's wrong, and the Senate voted right yesterday. But the scary thing is that 54 senators voted for that bill. So we have to be diligent and make sure that we do not allow them to come back and try it again and get it passed.
Yeah, no question about it. I found it interesting. You said 4 Republicans voted for it, and then there was 4 Democrats who voted against it.
Well, actually, I think
no, there was more than that. It was how many Democrats voted against it?
It was 5 that voted against.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so
and
it was a bipartisan rejection of the bill, but you won't hear that from the mainstream media.
Yeah, absolutely, no question about it. And of course, Ted Cruz was one of the senators who voted against it. It's interesting. So, did our other senator, what is his name, John Cornyn? Did he vote for it?
No, Cornyn.
No, he voted against it.
Yeah, Cornyn voted against it as well. So, it was just.
That's a dumb question. I need to be shot. I need to be shot for that one, Tony Powers. Even though he's a squish, he couldn't survive politically being a squish on that issue in Texas. Excuse me, all my listeners out there. Yeah, Cornyn was just silent on that issue, unlike Ted Cruz, who was the point leader fighting it. Yeah,
Ted Cruz is great. You guys are blessed to have a senator like him in Washington because he's doing a great job.
Yes, and very few people who get elected to the Senate understand the historical role of that office like he does. His primary role is to be an obstruction to federal control and federal growth and federal advancement. That is his primary goal, and that's one of the primary purposes of the U.S. Senate. If you look back historically, of course, until the early part of the 20th century, the U.S. Senate was chosen by state legislatures appointed by governors, and they were basically hired guns to protect the states from the federal government. That was their role.
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't until the 30s that they changed that, and then now they're voted on statewide, and of course now they are more part of the federal government as opposed to the state government, and unfortunately that changed, and of course it's taken a lot of power away from the states.
Yep, it's the 17th Amendment. It was one of Woodrow Wilson's crazy bills that included a national income tax becoming part of the law, all kinds of nasty stuff that happened in that progressive era of Woodrow Wilson. Talking again to my good friend Tony Powers, we're fixing to have to hit a break here, Tony. What's your website for people to get more information?
Just go to italkus.com.
That's italkus.com. Tony Powers, my very good friend. Always like to do his show. Love it when he comes on to do mine. Austin, because you are a business owner and not just a talk show host, we sometimes have a hard time getting you on because you're actually an owner of a company that you're trying to keep moving in the right direction.
Oh, yes. We're small business owners here, and we see all the problems that the small businesses are facing now, and it's a struggle, but especially in this economy, but we're going to keep it going, and we'll keep getting the word out.
I appreciate it. Tony Powers, make sure you get his website again. Check that out one more time. What's the website, Tony?
italkus.com.
italkus.com. Make sure you check that out. When we come back, more Tony Powers is going to be talking about what's happening out there, business, the economy, so much more. Many issues that are happening that aren't getting much attention because of ongoing crises that this administration really lives off of. I'm Kevin Price. You're listening to The Price of Business.